People have been talking about Zen and they always focus on their highest end parts. I was thinking about when low end crappy Zen comes out, like on the very low end, like the 70 to 80 to $90 parts. And I did some math on these. If Zen is truly a 40% increase in IPC, and AMD does the route of making purely equivalent generational pieces, like well, we need to make a Zen equivalent to the FX8 350, and they do, and it has a 40% increase. No, it's going to be closer to 90 because those things are still running pile driver. Or is it? Yeah, they're still running pile driver, so it's going to be huge increases on the FX side. But on the non-FX side, on their excavator parts that are on the low end, like the 845, you're going to see some massive, massive gains that are to the point where it would not make sense to buy Intel anymore. Let's use an example of the 845. The 845 is a low end part that is meant to compete mostly with Pentiums and i3s. If you increase its IPC by 40%, and then you do a couple other things to make it a Zen processor in your head, like it's got 4 cores, physical cores. Let's keep it at 4 physical cores. Now it has 8 cores because it has simultaneous multi-threading. And then you're like, wow, this is going to be awesome because at this point you have a 70 to 80 to maybe $90. They might bump it up to $90, but still $90 piece that has a 4 core, 8 threads. It will have a physical, like you can measure it, bump in IPC that it will put it over 40% of the last processor. So at that point, it is performing much more to a high-end i3, low-end i5 than it is to a Pentium. It is now 40% ahead. It is now crushing the 6100, Intel's i3 6100 by huge amounts. It is not just a small smidgen. It is a good 20% overhead. And it will no longer make sense to buy Intel anymore. Not on the low end. Not even close. Even in the mid-range, it won't make sense to buy Intel anymore because Zen will just be crushing those processors like nothing. It will be, because even though the IPC on it will be Haswell, it's not going to be clocked like a Haswell. It's going to have 3 gigahertz or so to play with. And at 3 to 4 gigahertz, it's going to crush low-end parts. High-end parts are good. I could conceive being completely smashed by just sheer throughput, not by performance itself. But when you have 16, when you have 8 cores and 16, hyper-threading, you could, and you're like me, and you do a lot of video processing and coding and things for school like that. That's a holy grail of a chip. Even if they all perform 5% less than a physical core on Intel's part, there's still so many more of them that who gives a shit at that point? That's that chip is geared like for people like me that's like into coding and compiling and just computer programming. Now for games, it might be worse because after 4 cores, you're really dropping off on how you put another core in there. It's like you don't get that much of a massive gain. But for me, I will pick up a Zen chip. Not even the high end ones. The low end ones, as I said, at $90, if it's a pure, if it is a sheer 40% gain, and they are doing chip by chip replacements like companies normally do, like Intel does and AMD and even ARM does, where they're like, okay, this is da 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 over the last part. We're going to stop making this part now, and you're going to be stuck with this chip. That's what ARM is advertised to do that. They don't really do that because they've license out their chips to so many makers. But anyways, that's the point. But it is such a massive gain, and it's replacing the older chips. It will not make sense to buy Intel anymore. Even on the low end to mid range. Maybe on the high end, Intel will still be dominating, but if Zen is really as good as it's projected to be, I think Intel will be crushed by Intel.